But how do you end here and not in Copenhagen on a venue? Because this is not to offend anybody, but perhaps
it's a small place.
Yeah, and outer skirts, perhaps, right?
Well, we came here because I don't really know why we came here. Because the person who does our promotion suggested that we came here as the fourth day of the shows, because it was an area we hadn't been in. It was a small club, but it was a nice place to come. It was a good music place, and I would find it interesting, countryside and stuff. And I kind of like seeing places that you don't normally see. You know, there's we were talking about it the other night. When you do a big tour, you tend to go to the Hilton Hotel or the whatever hotel, and they all look the same, and you only go straight to the show and you never see anything. Are
you okay?
Are you okay?
Yes, I'm okay.
Are you sure?
Yes, I thought that was...
No, I know, it's very, very treacherous, that bit there. Are you alright?
And I was going to...
Oh. Oh dear, instead of which I'm taking you to hospital. Oh no, he's probably broken his leg. Oh.
No, no.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm actually quite sure.
It's a very dangerous bit. But it's interesting, you know, to come to places like in Germany, having done all the big towns. It's nice to go into the mountains where you never ever go, up towards the Polish border, and go to sort of towns that are...
Not the obvious places.
Yeah, they're really unusual. I mean, when I worked with Mike, we used to do a lot of... we'd go to places in Germany and stay in romantic hotels because they were different, you know.
Yeah.
And you'd get hotels where nobody spoke English, and so you were really stuffed because you'd turn up after the show and it was like, oh, well, how do we get in? And you know, but it was fun. So I kind of enjoy that.
So, what do you prefer? Do you prefer to play for a gig for 200 people or 2,000, perhaps? What's your preference?
I like both. I used to prefer larger shows because I got used to it, and I was a bit nervous, I think, of being able to see the audience.
Yeah.
But then I realised that actually I didn't like not being able to see. You know, you would look out and you would see the first few rows, and you would have lights in your eyes, and you couldn't see anyone. And I sort of thought, no, I'd quite like to see who actually likes what I'm doing. And so I quite like the interaction when you can see people and you can speak to them, and I like a mix of both.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's a matter of temper.
Yeah, a bit of both, and enjoy seeing where I am and going places that are interesting. You know.
One of the big differences between, for instance, today and in the 80s, where you were with Mike Oldfield, had a couple of hits, fair to say. One of the big differences today is the talent shows, for instance. If Maggie Reilley was 20 years old today, would she enter Britain's Got Talent or Popstar?
No.
What do you make of those shows?
Well, personally, I don't like them because I think they build people up for a huge fall, and an awful lot of people get very hurt because they're not chosen. You know, they kind of go into it, and if they get a certain way, maybe 3 shows in, they're in the sort of running, they get really built up, and then when they fail, it must be really horrendous for them because they don't have the backing of having, like how I did it was I worked and I gigged and I gigged and I gigged, and you learn a lot about what you do. You learn a lot about your craft, you learn a lot about how to talk to an audience, you learn about how to interact. There's a whole sort of lot of things that you learn how to deal with doing what we do. And I think the people who go on these shows, it's tough because one minute they're sort of working in a sweetie shop, and the next minute they're on TV in front of thousands and thousands, well, hundreds of thousands of people. And then when they get dropped, it's not very nice because you hear the stories of the people who don't make it, and it's always quite bitter and sad, you know, that they were taken and they did this, this and this, and then they're very disenchanted. So for the ones that are successful, it's great for them, but for the ones that aren't, and there's many more that aren't, it's not very nice. You know?
It's also dangerous, right? Because they get typecast. They can't break out of that role of being in primetime TV.
Very few. I think I noticed the American woman, Kelly
Kelly Clarkson, yeah.
she managed to somehow...
She was the first, so that's perhaps the one.
And she managed to transcend it. Leona Lewis has been taken and really kind of worked into sort of American Beyonce type thing, and so she's transcended it. Will Young, who was the first one in Britain, he's kind of a charming guy, and he's sort of made his own career. But who else? You know,
it's difficult.
all the others you kind of forget about, or they disappear, or you hear about them in a Sunday newspaper, and you know they're very sad because they feel they've been somehow.
But isn't the market also much bigger right now, or at the time, because everybody who's got a Mac computer can make music, so and have a MySpace page. You got some music out, and there's a lot of musicians right now. For instance, for 20 years ago, when you had to use a lot of money to get.
Yeah, but also there's a lot of people who go to these stage school type things, because that's become because it makes money. All of a sudden, stage schools have sprung up for musicians, and so you've all these people who are learning very valid stuff. Like Amy Winehouse and Adele, they all went to the Brit School. You know, there's a whole stack of them. Leona Lewis went to one of those places, and they learn their craft in as much as they learn how to construct songs, they learn how to sing in different styles, how to play instruments. I think they're taught a little bit about the background of the industry and how to look at contracts, you know, that kind of stuff, which is a good idea, because we didn't know anything about that. We had to learn by mistakes, really, with contracts. But it strikes me that they churn out, the people who are teaching them are kind of my age, and a lot of them were into the kind of music that was around in the 70s and 80s, soul, funk, that kind of thing. And that seems to me what is coming out of the people that they're now teaching.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm going, well, hang on, that's the Temptations, that, you know,
sounds
Smokey
familiar.
Robinson. And then it occurred to me, well, of course it is, because they're being taught by people who have the background I've got of music that was being played.
But also because of the songs and the stamina they have. So
but it's interesting. I mean, some people are just that they're brilliant, and others they're being taught something that they'll have a great career on a different level. There's very few of them will really, you know, be globally successful. But then that's the same in every industry.
Yeah. Is it a tough job to be a musician?
Yes, but it's very rewarding. It's like any kind of creative thing. Being an artist is tough.